9. Time to talk the high-tech stories of the week. We do it with Paul Brislen. Twitter.com/Paul Brislen, head of 2ANZ as well. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you very much. The big local announcement in the tech world this week was Orcon coming out with some pricing for ultra-fast broadband if you've got it.
If you got it, they'll sell it to you, and yes, it's really quite good. They've got an entry-level price point of $75 a month for 30 megabits a second down and 10 megabits a second up. With that, you get their Genius. Look, I've got a little key. With Genius, you get the toll calling packages as well on top of that, but it's all relatively cheap. It's all voice over IP stuff. The only real downside is the data caps. Firstly, they still have them, which I'd quite like to see the end of these things. And secondly, they're really quite low. So this entry level plan is 30 gigs of data. So,
at $75, $79 or something. Just addressing. Okay, let's address those data caps. Talking to Scott Bartlett from Orcon yesterday, he said that the reason why they have them is because of the international cable and the fact that there's only that one link that we have, and that's where the constraint is.
He's not wrong. That is the one thing the ISPs all tell me is that the cable link to the US in particular is a big economic bottleneck. There's no capacity problem there. It's an economic problem. And the issue is that they buy their capacity in sort of 10-year contractual periods. I don't know if it's 10 years, it might be 5 years, but it's a very long period of time compared with how fast things are moving. So they get stuck with old prices and old products and old services and can't really move to the new products that are coming out that are vastly cheaper because they're stuck on these old contracts. So that is one bottleneck, but it's not the only one. We've got a guest blog up on the 2ANZ website from Juha Saarinen, who's a tech commentator of some renown. And he says that one of the other problems is that national backhaul, that is the connection here in New Zealand between cities, is predominantly controlled by Telecom Wholesale as it was. Now it's part of Chorus. And those prices are based on very, very low connection speeds. So your data for the month is in effect based on dial-up speed kind of speeds. Right. And when you look at it from that point of view, you really don't need that much data because you won't be able to download it. So, why bother? So it is a sort of a legacy product from an older era that is leaching into the fibre world, and I thought I'd like to see the end of it. Well, let's get rid of it.
Something else that I questioned Scott about, and whether or not that is leaching into the fibre world as well, is a constrained upload speed, not symmetrical.
Yeah.
There's less, you get less on the upload.
That's right, and you really there's no real need for that. Fibre is pretty much unlimited in terms of capacity, and you could very easily have 30 down, 10 up is an entry-level product. It's basically for consumption of content. It's not really much use for creating content and sending out there. It's a lot better than what we've got today, but it's not as good as it should be. And fibre, you could be having 50 meg symmetrical service, 100 megabit per second symmetrical service, and internationally, of course, they're now moving to the 1 gigabit per second symmetrical service. So I question the need for us to have a difference between upload and download speeds, particularly in New Zealand, where an upload speed is of vital import because we've got so many small businesses. Something like 95% of us work for a company that has fewer than 5 employees. Well, these are exactly the companies we want to flourish, and they're exactly the kind of companies that need a better upload speed. Yeah,
well, see, I'm a content producer, and my experience last week uploading a video at home compared to at work here was just it was drastic. Here 10 to 15 minutes for this particular video, at home 300 minutes. And if I was to start a business at home doing the same sort of thing, content or whatever, it would just be impossible.
Yep. And even with 10 megabits a second up, it's probably 10 times what you're getting at home. If your connection is anything like mine. That's still, it's entry level. We're talking about the future, which means you've got to move up. Orcon isn't offering a plan in between 30 and 100 meg. So there's no 50/50 plan for consumers. You've got to go straight to the 100 meg down. I think it's 50 meg up, which is an awful lot better. But again, it's asymmetrical. Why is that? I just don't understand why that seemed to be an issue.
Also, I thought that the constrained upload speed on the existing copper wires was artificial, because back in the day they were concerned about people setting up home servers and people sending files around the world. But Scott was saying no, it's actually an engineering issue. It's actually
part of the technology. So ADSL, the predominant service that we all use, is asymmetrical by definition. So they realised fairly early on that to squeeze as much capacity out of the copper as possible, most people were sitting at home downloading stuff. And I mean, we're talking 10 years ago when the first ADSL lines were launched in New Zealand. No problem getting old now. It's probably closer to 15 years ago when I first got one, and it was very much a consumption model. You weren't expected to do anything that needed a lot of capacity at your end. So there was no video calling to speak of. There was no uploading of video files. I worked from home with an ADSL connection and a 600 megabytes a month data limit for nearly a year, and managed to stay within that, predominantly because it was all text. All I was doing was sending text messaging and text files back and forth. So we've moved on, thankfully. It's all video and high definition video at that. And that's to be encouraged.
So is it? It's good though that there are now some pricing and some plans, even though not many people can get it now because not many people have fibre. So is that good?
Yeah. It is good. It's good to see one of the big national players come out. They're not the first off the blocks. We've already had some of the smaller regional players announce their pricing and what they're hoping to do. But it's great to see a national player of their kind of scale coming out. This will put the burners now to Telecom, Vodafone, the likes of Cool Plus, Slingshot. They all have to get in behind now and figure out what their price points are going to be. And $75 for an entry-level product like that is fantastic. That will encourage people to move. But there are two other issues to consider there. One is there still seems to be some debate about who's paying for the connection to the house. To my mind, that should be the fibre companies, whether it's Chorus or Enable in Christchurch or whoever. They're the ones who are building the network. They are funded to build this network. They should be connecting houses up. I don't see any need for residential consumers to pay for service at all. The second question is, how are you going to compare Orcon's 30 down, 10 up product with, say, one from Vodafone or one from, Paul and Wammo's dodgy ISP that's just set up and is only charging half the price? There's going to be a difference, and it's all hidden at the moment in terms of things like contention ratios. That is, how many people are you sharing your connection with? What sort of backhaul do they buy in nationally? What sort of international capacity do they buy? We need to be able to see these kinds of issues brought out to the surface so that we can understand what we're buying. So when I plunk down my money and say, okay, here's my $75, I know exactly what I'm getting for it. Otherwise, we're in the dark.
Yeah. Okay, the other big story of the week wasn't whatever Apple was doing. It was the fact that I was captured on Google Street View, Paul.
Oh! Have you got a picture yet? Have you seen it?
We certainly do have a picture.
How did the pixelation feel? Was that a bit annoying? Or?
So do you remember, actually, on the show, we discussed the fact, it was about 2 years ago, because this picture was taken in November 2010, just less than 2 years ago, that I had seen one of these Google cars go past my house.
Ran outside.
I ran outside. I ran outside, rather than striking, some kind of funny pose or something. I just stood there with my arms crossed, like looking a little gruff.
Yeah.
So,
what the bloody hell that car doing in my street?
Yeah, exactly.
I like it. The juxtaposition with the 78 MGB GT is quite nice too. Yeah. I take it it's your personal vehicle.
It was. It's now so out of date that car's gone. But yeah. So I mean, if you want to check that out, check out the live video stream. I got a wee picture of that up there now. But I'm going to
go check my house, because they were building next door and several years ago now, and all of the Google Earth footage has this frame nothing else. And it's been years since that was there, so I'll have to go and see if they've updated.
Yeah, I mean, the whole purpose of them updating was obviously, get more updated pictures, but they're all in higher res, so everything looks. Auckland looks fantastic. I'm yet to travel around the rest of the country on Street View yet, but it's looking really nice. Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's I've looked at places I used to live in the UK, and some of them are pretty dodgy pixelation-wise. You actually can't tell where you are. But I also found that Google Earth is really quite bad at being able to locate anything, certainly in Britain, outside of London. It just sort of randomly selects a spot in the countryside and says, "Yeah, that's where you were, somewhere over there." Yeah. That'll do. And you really struggle to drill in. So I tell you what, I have to.
My blurred face makes me feel a bit dodgy, though. Just having a blurred face
on the side of the street. Well, and so you should, because you do look quite dodgy. I've got to say, you should have pulled a. All Kiwis, I would recommend now that we do the Brett on the red carpet. Jump. The jump for joy jump, and just see what that looks like.
That jump,
and see if we can get everybody in midair on Google Earth.
That jump is humanly impossible. I'm sure he's an alien.
I have no idea how he did that. It is insanely difficult to do. Yes.
Indeed. Paul Brislen on Twitter, twitter.com/Paul Brislen. We'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good.
Yes.